All right, so I was talking about the last class that we were doing the mirroring lab, and for that, when in Azure we were doing that, and it was not done. So I wanted to just quickly show that the same exact steps really work, but it was in Azure, so Azure had I don't know, some kind of issue there about networking there. So that really didn't let me complete the lab of mirroring. So what I did, I created the 3 VM environment in my local desktop machine, just like the Exchange server, email or mailer administration, 3 virtual machines I had. So just exactly the same way I created that SQL Server environment in my desktop as well. And there I tried the mirroring lab and it just works fine, smooth. But in Azure there may have been issues with that virtual machine, like the networking between Azure and what underlying you can say networking bandwidth they offer at that particular time. It depends on our internet speed as well. But the thing is that the mirroring was the two SQL servers virtual machines were not communicating in Azure environment, so I had to create this same in my local desktop environment. So I have that uh, first server here, and that's the domain controller, and the second is the database server. So first SQL server on second virtual machine, and the third virtual machine has a second SQL server. So exactly that's what we had in Azure as well. But there, I don't know why it was the two servers were not communicating with each other. So well, what I can show here is a quick rundown into the mirroring that we were doing last week. So I just want to show that the same exact steps just work fine here in my local lab. So the only difference is that was in Azure, this is here. And so what we did last week was, I'll just go fast because we have already covered that, but to show that it was fine. So what was being done in mirroring was that you can just create one database here, like if you have a database here, so its copy you can create on the other server 3 here, right? And that copy would be an exact it will be in synchronization, synchronous replication between server 2 and server 3 here. So that server 2 and server 3 database copies need to also failover between each other. So that's what we were doing in Azure, and I'm just gonna quickly go for that copy again. So we have these 3 machines here, and the SQL server here is, so that's SQL1 and that's SQL2, and we have DB1 here, suppose, or DB3, suppose. So DB02, DB02, and we just wanted to do mirroring. So I'm just and what we talked about last time, that we can create a copy of this and do a synchronous replication on the other machine. So that's we can just take a backup of this DB02 and just put that backup here in VM03. So that's VM1, VM1 DC, DNS, and VM2 and VM3. So the we can take a backup of this database, put it here, .back file, and then go for the .bk, actually, BAK file, right? So So we put that database2's backup file and restore it here. And once it is restored and synchronized, then we're supposed to actually failover, right? So this means that this database is active here, but when we failover, this database becomes active and this becomes passive. And we can actually fail back as well. So not only failover, but we can fail back as well from this database to that database, right? But any one database is active, which means that it's receiving end user connections or application connections. So this is overall what we were doing last class. So since we have gone through that lab in detail, I'm gonna just try the same exact steps now here in my local lab instead of Azure now. So what we need to do first is just choose the database, take its backup, put that backup file on the other server, and then restore it so its exact copy will be here, and then we can then check if we can failover or not, right? So I don't have to go in much detail because we covered that whole detail in last class. You can refer the last class video as well, but let me just show you that it works till the end and we can failover and fail back as well. So once that is done, then we're going to go for replication topic, and then failover clustering, that's a big one. So we're going to go for that topic as well. So according to this diagram, I'm just going to choose DB02, and let me check if I haven't already done any testing on that. So I have SQL Server 2 here, and I have SQL Server 3 added here already, right? So if I just disconnect here and choose this, so I have just one SQL Server, and if I connect, so there is server 3, I'm on 2 right now, this is machine 2, so I'll just simply connect to 3 here, and it just connects right away. And we know that we had to enable the browser service within the SQL configuration manager. So once the SQL 3 is here, what I wanted to just check out from there, I tested on DB04. So what I'm going to do for mirroring is DB02, and what I need to do is, first of all, I need to take a backup of that, just like last class we did. So I'm just going to quickly do that. Tasks, I'm quickly doing that because we are, again and again I'm saying we already did that. So backup, but it's going to be recorded, so you can always access this. And so I'm just taking a backup here. This is the path where it takes backup, so I'm just going to click the add button here, copy this path, and I'll go to run to open this folder, right? And so this is the folder where it's going to land when it backs up. So once the backup, I'm just going to press OK after selecting the path here, and the backup is successful. This I'm doing mirroring quickly just to show. Once that backup is done and the folder is actually here, so I see that db02.back is there. I need to copy this to SQL Server 3 or the other virtual machine 3 and SQL Server 2 actually. So I'll just paste it here, the db02 backup, right, in the other machine, and then I'll go back to SQL Server 2 because I need to restore that, right? I need to mount an exact copy of this database here in SQL 3. So I'm just going to go here, right click on the databases, and I'm going to click restore database. There I backed up in server 2. Here I'm just restoring. Once we restore, so I'm going to go to device here and the 3 dots here, and then add. So it's in the downloads folder, so I'll just go down here in machine 3 and users, and I'm logged in from your first name SQL admin, so I'll click that. Inside the your first name SQL admin, it is in the downloads folder here, right? So there's a backup 2 that I just took, so I'm just going to restore it here to have a copy here, so we could synchronize that from the server 2's copy to the server 3 copy. I'm just going to press OK, and then I'm going to go to options because we need to restore it with the no recovery option. So I'm just going to click restore with no recovery, and I'll press OK. So database is restored. Last time it was restored, yes, no big deal here. It's in last time also we saw that it was just restoring, right? But now I'll just create that mirroring and I'll create the mirroring on the database too. So I'm going to right click here and go to tasks and go for mirroring, right? So in the mirroring we need to configure security. That's what we did last time as well. And just to show right now in my local environment instead of Azure, so I'm going to click next. There is no witness server instance. We talked about witness last time. This just is a third SQL server that will help you automatically failover instead of manual. We're going for manual failover, right? So I'm just going to click next here. This is the server 2 where the active database is. I'm going to click next here again, and it says that, hey, can you connect to server 3 here? So I'm just going to click connect and click server 3. Okay, and then server 3 and click next. So yes, I can connect. Now it's just asking that put your domain and username for the principal database, which is this, which is active database, and that database here, which is mirror. So I'll check my domain name. It is SQL domain, and I'm just logging in from which account? Amir SQL admin. So I'll just go ahead, SQL domain / Amir SQL admin. I'll Control A, Control C that, tab, Control V, and this is the two highly privileged places where the highly privileged user is added. And this is the summary here. I'm going to click finish. This is where we were last time in the class. Well, it's successful, and I'm going to click close. Now, last class we were just thinking that, okay, we're going to start mirroring here, but the problem was that the database has not been configured for mirroring, was the continuous message coming to us in Azure. So I'm going to click start mirroring now, not monitoring. Once you click the start mirroring, now you can see that the message changed. The database are fully synchronized. Now the exact same steps I took here in my local environment, and it says that the databases are fully synchronized. There in Azure, there may have seen some some issues there. I'm not sure about that, but I think it's the speed or the way they were accessing, or I had to open some more ports there, although I opened all the ports there. Okay, so once this is fully synchronized, this is where we were not getting that in the last class lab. So just once it's fully synchronized, the main part was the failing over. So let me just show you that quickly as well. I'm just going to press OK here, and I'm on VM2 where SQL number 1 is installed, and I'm going to go down here to desktop. So it is saying DB02 is principal, and in SQL 2 there is DB02, and in SQL 3 there is DB02 in recovery. So that's showing in recovery, and that is showing the principal. So this means that end users can be connected there. So Amir says, suppose the second server becomes active, does it remain active even if the first server becomes available? No, that anyone has to be active. Both cannot be active. Well, it's supporting active passive here, the mirroring. And so if I go ahead so the main task was after this, and that is, if I right click on this database and go to tasks and then go to mirror, right? So if I go to mirror, yes, the same mode opens, but now you can see the failover button available, right? So I'm going to click the failover because if you want to, well, this is only manual failover we can have, because we didn't install a third SQL server that would have become the witness server. So this means that we can manually failover and fail back, right? So I'm going to click the failover. Well, the DB02 is principal, and you can see DB02 in server 2 is principal database, and DB02 in server 3 is in recovery or passive database. So I'm going to click failover here, and it says here failing over database mirroring will swap the roles of the mirror and principal database. Obviously, I want this to be active down here and that to be passive or standby now, right? So Well, it just says that the mirror database will become the principal database. Yes, that's what I want. And the current principal database will become inaccessible, like end user's connection cannot be then done here. If you have just modified any properties in the database properties dialog box, those changes will be lost. So I didn't make any changes in the database properties yet. In addition, SQL Server must close all other connections to the current principal database. So if any application was connected here, anything was connected here, so close it when you're failing over. Are you sure you want to fail over database mirroring? Yeah, I'm sure. So I'm just gonna press yes here, and then I'm gonna go to the SQL Server 2 and refresh. Then I'm gonna go for SQL Server 3 and refresh. So then I'm just gonna expand the databases again, and DB02 it is now the mirror, and the SQL Server 2 DB02, which was the principal, now is the mirror, and DB02 in SQL Server 3 is now principal. So principal means that you can connect applications to this one, and mirror is that you cannot, it's just a replication partner now, and it's whatever changes are made here is being synchronized there. And not only that, we can fail over, but obviously it's two-way. So I'm just going to go down here. I just want this to be again the active database and this to be the passive database. So I'm just going to right click here, and it's the same process. And if I go to mirror again, so and fail over now, so and press yes, and server 2 refresh, server 3 refresh, and then expand, so it should be back to being a mirror or passive or standby database. And this is, oops, sorry, this is back to DB02 principal. So this is how we can fail over and fail back manually. And if you have a third SQL server, you can also if this server which has active database, if this server crashes, then you can just it will just fail over automatically to the other database, which is passive. Passive becomes active automatically if you have a third SQL server as a witness server, right? So what we saw here is the DB02 failing over. So this is what I wanted to show you. So you can, when you're doing if you want to do any other time that mirror app, so this is in a local environment, it's better to do that there in your workstation and LAN, and this is how it works. So we were able to fail over now as well, right? But since we discussed everything about mirroring last time, so I just had to show the end part of that, where how it's supposed to work, right? That was one thing. And second thing is we need to go for another high availability feature called replication. And mirroring was for database, the full database that you want to have a copy of, while the replication feature in SQL Server is that if you want to just go for one table inside the database and you want to just copy some of the components of a table of the database instead of the whole database, you want some portion of the database to be replicated. It's not portion, it's a very important component called table. So if you want to copy the table from and it's whatever changes are going on in the table from one database to another, so in that case it can do that too. So mirroring is for full database synchronization, synchronous replication, while replication is just one table inside this database, just two tables inside the database, just three tables inside this database. That's when you go for replication. So that would be the one difference. And if we go down here, SQL Server Application, there's that diagram that we're going to be discussing. But first, we're going to go for some definition. Then I'll just explain this whole diagram as well. So what happens here is replication. Replication is a set of technologies for copying and distributing data and database objects from one database to another and then synchronizing between databases to maintain consistency. So it's copying and distributing data and database objects from one database to another, and then synchronizing between databases to maintain consistency. So you have okay, I'll just go for that diagram here. So suppose you have two SQL servers here, and that's SQL Server number 1, this is SQL Server number 2, in Server 2 and Server 3, and you have one table here, employees table, and that table needs to be not only first that synchronized. So there's table 1 here, employees, table 2 here, salaries, and table 3 here, something else, right? So whatever other, maybe contracts. So but you want only table 1 to be synchronized to from the database of SQL Server 1 to the database of SQL Server 2, right? So in that case, this table will be first copied there and with the help of replication, and then whenever you make any changes here, suppose you change the salary of one employee there in the column, so it's just going to get synchronized. Whatever updates are done on the table will be copied to that table that is a copy of this table 1, so it's employee EMP. So that table is EMP, employee table, and whatever changes are happening here will be synchronized to that exact table there as well. So mirroring is the full database changes go to its exact copy there, while replication is that one component of a database can be one object of a database can be only updated when you don't want the whole database to be updated across the two machines. So that's where some terminology comes as well. So there's publisher, there is subscriber, and then there is local distributor. So these are the terminologies. Then there's SQL Server Agent as well. So we're going to check that what's going on, what is publisher, what does it do, and what subscriber do. So basically the publisher, a database that is, what is a publisher? So our database that is sending data to the subscriber. So publisher's data will be sent to another database. Whichever database is receiving that data as an update will be called subscriber. A database that is receiving data from the publisher. And then there is local distributor. So what is that? In the LAN, the local distributor is makes sure that data from publisher is being sent to the subscriber. So it makes sure that there's a connectivity between the publisher and subscriber. Publisher is sending the data, what it's supposed to do, and subscriber is receiving the data, what it's supposed to do. So distributor makes sure it's happening between the publisher and subscriber, and that is in the LAN. While you can have a distributor on the WAN as well, and from another branch as well. Suppose the publisher is in Toronto branch, and then the subscriber is actually in New York branch, and then there is okay, and my branch is actually here. So but the thing is, yeah, here it is on London branch, right? Or we can go for any other, so Mississauga branch, right? So and you have another branch here in New York, although it's supposed to be a bit nearer Mississauga. So anyway, now I have that piece of mind. Got it. Spellings are wrong. So anyway, on the web, so it can be, the distributor can be on another branch, keeping an eye on the publisher and subscriber. And if publisher has some issue, then it will just send an alert that hey, publisher is not sending the data, and alert will come to us. Or in the event viewer, you can just check the event viewer there, and you can just take action, what's going on, investigate, troubleshoot. So what happens is that so publisher sending the data, subscriber receiving the data, distributor makes sure that the data is being distributed, or publisher is sending and subscriber is receiving. But uh, suppose you don't want to have a third machine, you don't have a third machine to deploy the distributor, because again this is then a third SQL machine, right? So you can deploy the distributor on the same machine where the publisher is already installed, or first you deploy the distributor here on this machine and then deploy the publisher here, and then the other physical server will be the subscriber. So distributor and publisher can be on the same machine as well, right? So that is overall the purpose of replication, and we talked about that. It's different from mirroring because mirroring is all through the whole database copy gets created, the whole database gets updated, but replication is that just one component of a database can also be updated if you don't want to update the whole database. So you go for replication. So if we go further here to the slide, then replication is a set of technologies for copying and distributing data and database objects from one database to another, and then synchronizing. So it keeps on synchronizing. First is it copies, obviously, and then it's going to keep them synchronized and updated as well. Use replication to distribute data to different locations and to remote or mobile users over local and wide area networks, dial-up connections, wireless connections, and the internet. So this can be used widely to distribute data to different locations, and even remote locations to mobile users. So the mobile users are connecting, or maybe there's one table whose data needs to be accessed by the end users, and so just one table is being updated. So that's a very small data that you can even update on a slow connection like dial-up, and on wireless connections you can update as well. It's not the whole database being copied and synchronized on the other side. It's just one portion of a database, an object of a database, or just a table, or just a column of a table, or just a row of a table being updated right now. So that's a very small quantity amount of data. So that's why it's going to it can travel over the slower, much slower networks as well. And if you go for then types of replication that it supports there, the replication, SQL Server Replication. So first type is transactional replication. So transactional replication is typically used in server-to-server scenarios that require high throughput, including improving scalability and availability. So data warehousing and reporting, integrating data from multiple sites, and integrating heterogeneous data and offloading batch processing. So this means that it's a large-scale replication going on. When we talk about data warehousing, so that definitely means that you have a huge amount of data that is being maintained, and then there are analytical applications working on them, and then the data is actually being then replicated. So transactional data replication just means that you have to, it's a huge amount of data, and you are just transferring it from one data warehouse actually. And for reporting purposes, reporting also normally creates a big amount of, it's big files are there when you're going for data warehouse related reporting. So it's a lot of big chunks of data that we're talking about. Even integrating data from multiple sites, obviously you need to have a lot of big WAN bandwidth then between the two branches, and integrating heterogeneous data. So different sources of data are connecting and sending data, and offloading batch processing. So batch processing is obviously you're automating data to be picked up from several sources and in batch or in large scale, or lot of or big quantity of data is being transferred. So this is where it says that it's typically server to server scenarios. So that's a lot of data that being exchanged between servers. Then there is the other type here, and that is merge replication. So in merge replication is primarily designed for mobile applications or distributed server applications that have possible data conflicts. So this means that common scenarios would include exchanging data with mobile users, consumer point of sales, right? So on those like Walmart and other markets, they have point of sales, their machines there. So they are trying to send data to a central server, and that central server can have some conflicting data as well. So it's it has to then resolve all the conflicts there as well, and integration of data from multiple sites. So if you're merging data from different sources, then you're using merge replication, point of sales, and mobile users. So that's going to be a smaller amount of data, first of all, that is being sent, and it is being received from several sources already. So that's what merge replication is, for small amount of data but from distributed sources, especially from mobile users and point of sales applications. So but it's not large scale like transactional replication handles that. And then there is snapshot replication. So snapshot replication is used to provide the initial data set for transactional and merge replication. It can also be used when complete refreshes of data are appropriate. So what happens is that you take a snapshot of a chunk of data, and first of all, initially you can have a transactional data, so all the data has been transferred in the first try, where whatever data was not there on the other side has been transferred, and then merge replication, whatever small amount of data later needs to be transferred is also transferred. After that, whenever there is a refresh there, so suppose there is some data hidden there and you have refreshed the whole database there, so it's going to just send any changes, slight changes there, or simply just update that okay, there are no changes yet, but still here's a snapshot for that. So you can have those snapshots available at different intervals, but the thing is that it's a bigger chunk of data that you can receive from one database to another. And then with these three types of replication, SQL Server provides a powerful and flexible system for synchronizing data across your enterprise. So obviously there's the three types of replications of three different type of scenarios there, and then we can just simply check what scenario we have, either large scale we want to go for, or transactional. This is distributed across different smaller devices or mobile users, and this is the one that go for merge replication. This is for different devices and mobile users. And the third one is snapshot replication. A bigger chunk of data is just sent. Initially it is in the transactional and merge state, and then it's just big chunks of or snapshots being sent to the other database to update that database. Now replication to SQL CE 3.5 and CE 4.0 is supported on both Windows Server 2012 and Windows 8. So this is again the formal replication that we're going to be reading now further, but it just says that it's backward compatible as well when it comes to SQL 2012 and Windows 8. Now this is just another way to distribute all the components, or talk about the components, understanding replication components in SQL Server 2016. There's publisher, server components, publisher, distributor, subscriber. We talked about that. Internal components are snapshot agent, distributed agent, merge agent, then log reader agent, and queue reader agent. So obviously the log reader agent will be checking all the log files, because we have talked about the transaction log files already, that the data first hits the transaction log files, and from there the data is transferred to the databases. And so for that there's an agent a component there that will try to read all the data from the transaction log files or log files and then transfer it or replicate it to the other side. And then there's a queue reader agent, so whatever data is being queued to be replicated to the other SQL server, so there's an agent that exactly does that. After that, and then there's another category, SQL Server Agent replication job. So now SQL Server Agent, if I show you in this SQL Server, so the SQL Server 2 has a SQL Server Agent which is actually disabled right now. So SQL Server Agent by default is disabled, and if I show you the SQL Server 3 here, and then so by default obviously it is disabled. And if so obviously for replication we need to enable the SQL Server Agent. So SQL Server Agent replication jobs, replication maintenance jobs. So SQL Server Agents, normally it's used for scheduling, and tasks and jobs are configured there, and then it automatically just does, performs those tasks or jobs at the specific time. So application maintenance jobs, so whatever replication maintenance is needed, and if there is replication going on and it's somehow there was low bandwidth or the data was dropping or the application stopped for some reason, so it's going to then try to do some maintenance on that, and check the log files for troubleshooting options as well, what happened really, what was, then obviously offer some kind of automated solutions there for known issues. Create snapshot job, and distribution jobs, and log reader jobs. So what the agent in the other internal components need to perform automatically, that is being done by the SQL Server Agent service itself for creating snapshots, and keep on creating snapshots automatically as a requirement or after some amount of time. And distribution jobs, so obviously distributor is making sure that the data is transferring from the replicator from the from the publisher to the subscriber. And then the log reader job, which is that if the log files are there and the reading is going on, it has to be automated, and the data has to be read from the log files and permanently committed to the SQL Server. So that's where all this the different components of replication are there in SQL Server 2016. After that, well, this is just straightforward definitions for the main components that's going to be used in the replication SQL Server 2016. Now the strange, well, it may be not the strange thing, but the thing is that this is not changed from SQL 2012, 2014, pretty much the exact same scenarios here and exact same features here, just like in SQL Server 2012 or 2014. So maybe in 2019 actually there are some more advances there, the latest SQL Server, but 2016, 2017, 2016, 2017 are pretty much the same databases, just like 2012 and 2014 are pretty much the same. Even the certification for them is for the older 2012 and 2014 is one certification to give, because there are not a lot of architectural changes there apart from certain changes. So 2016 and 2017 also are like that. So SQL 2017, if you install, you will see pretty much all the features of 2016 with slight differences or slight newer changes there. So publisher, an instance that makes data available through publication. So it makes data available. So that's the main thing about that. An article. So what is an article? A published object can be a table, a stored procedure, a view, an index view, or a user-defined function. So if you've come up with the code there, you have come up with some scripts there for SQL Server. So you would go for, you can just publish that too. But a publisher, see this, the publisher that makes data available. What kind of data? That data is actually being referred to as article. So publisher publishes article to the subscriber. That's what we can say. But what is an article? A table or any other object of database that can be replicated. The articles page of the new publication wizard. Well, okay, that page is actually not there. In fact, when we are exactly doing that lab, then I'm going to show you that. So from here, I'll just move that. And so article, just remember that it's the data being published, right? So whatever table data is being published is article. And then there is publication, a collection of articles. Suppose you have created an employee table, you have created a salaries table, you have created a contracts table, and so on. There are so many hundreds or thousands of tables there. So a collection of tables would be publication. Otherwise, one table is just article. So publisher just sends an article to the subscriber. That's what we're saying. Where publisher database is just sending some data to the subscriber database. Distributor, an instance that manages the transmission from publisher to subscriber. So we saw that in the diagram as well, that distributor is that component that can be installed either on a third machine or in another branch, or even in that same SQL server where the publisher also lives. So, and it just makes sure that the data is being sent from publisher to the subscriber. And a distributor on the same LAN as the publisher. So a distributor on the same LAN as a publisher is a local distributor. So obviously if it's in the same LAN, it's going to be the local. A distributor on a network remote from the publisher is a remote distributor. So you can have that distributor on another branch, but just make sure if you're going for huge data transfer, so it would need a lot of bandwidth. Otherwise, smaller data, it just takes care of if the data is being transferred from publisher to subscriber at all. So subscriber, an instance that receives, so SQL instance that receives publications, right? So when we say instance, obviously it's the SQL instance we're talking about, and that receives publications. And then that agent, now without that we cannot really work at all, or this replication will not work at all. So a service that enables the publisher, distributor, or subscriber to perform replication related tasks, right? So that's where the agent comes. So, and that is disabled right now, so obviously we need to go to the both servers. We need to enable the agent service first, and that then the subscriber and publisher and distributor will perform the replication task. If agent is disabled, obviously replication will not work at all. So if we go for the diagram again, so SQL Server application is possible when we publish an article on one instance, and then that article or a table is replicated with the help of distributor to a subscriber on another instance. So this is just, if the publisher is here, this is a publisher, then this is a subscriber. It's just receiving the data, and the data direction is from publisher to subscriber, right? And so we will install publisher, we will install distributor, we need to make a table inside the database, highly available, and we install a subscriber here. So these are two SQL servers, and so here it's just not on the right side. So we can go for SQL 1, and this is just SQL 2. Right? Okay, so data conflict resolution with merge replication and data conflict detection with peer-to-peer replication. So there are types of replications there, or components of replication also, that conflict resolution can be done with merge replication, it has that built-in by design feature where if there is a conflict, it's going to resolve that error correction or conflict resolution, while data conflict detection with peer-to-peer replication is just that. Obviously, with this type of replication, the conflict is at least detected, while with merge replication, it is also detected and resolved. So when you see detected, this means that it's going to actually report that to you only, and then you can just try to come up with some scripts to resolve that conflict within the replication between the two instances. So if we go ahead, then prior to configuring replication, you must ensure that the SQL replication service, SQL Server Replication feature is installed on the both SQL instances or more, 2 or more SQL instances. You configure with the publisher. So obviously, when we installed SQL Server, we did select the SQL Server Replication, and it says that if it's not there, you just have to install it on both SQL servers. If I go ahead and check in the SQL servers here, so the replication feature is installed here in SQL Server 2, and in Server 2 SQL Server and Server 3 SQL Server, the replication feature is here as well. If you don't see that feature, those who are doing this, then obviously it needs to be added. And yeah, instances you can configure with the publisher, distributor, and subscriber roles. So suppose you don't have that feature. So we saw that last time as well, that how can we add a feature. If I just go to this programs and features, okay, actually not program features, control panel, right? And from there, if the SQL Server ISO is added to the DVD of the machine, then we can go to the programs and then programs and features, and in those programs and features, I can go to the SQL Server 2016 here, right click and click on install and change, and then I'll click the add button here if I don't have replication. I have, right? But if you don't have, I'm just showing you then what to do here. I'll go to this PC and go down here, and there's a DVD, and DVD has the SQL Server SQL 2016 showing there. So I'm just going to select the DVD. That's all we need to do, select it and press OK. Then the wizard starts. It catches up the first page. Suppose we want to install that on the second instance. I think we did install that on the second instance of the database. Oh, you know what? When I recreated that, I didn't install the second instance itself. I'm sure. But just to show you that what you can do is just add the replication if it's not there already. Checking for updates. Oh, okay. Skip scan. I'm just gonna skip scan there, and next. So I don't want it to check updates, but I just wanted to show that option there. Okay. And .NET application. Yeah. Warning. So here I have just I'm not going for new add features. So we would select the add features, and then if you don't have that, so you can see that it is selected SQL Server Replication, but you would just select here and next finish, and you would install the replication service for both SQL servers one by one. I'm going to cancel out from here because I have it, but just want to show that if you don't have it, then this is the way to go ahead and install the replication service before you can enable that. So, okay, compatibility. This program uninstalled correctly. Yeah, it did. Okay. Anyway, so that's one thing that if you don't have replication service, then go ahead and install that. The second thing is that we have to then enable the SQL Server Agent service for both SQL servers. So by default that service is disabled, and the way how to configure it, you have to go to SQL Server Configuration Manager. Whenever it's always recommended, and that was I think the part of the quiz as well, that the SQL Server, where do you change the services? So it's always SQL Server start on both SQL Server. Always change SQL services from SQL Configuration Manager. Right, so always change the services from SQL Server Configuration Manager. And that said, now I'm just going to check that if SQL Server Agent service is up or not. So I'll just go to my SQL Server 2 here. So Server 2, which has a SQL Server, and check that the SQL Server service is actually disabled. If I right click here, well, there is no way to start, stop, restart. So obviously I need to go to Configuration Manager and enable it. So that would be our screenshot 1 and 2. So when we enable the services on the SQL Server Agent service on both SQL servers. Okay. In fact, one screenshot we can say. First we go to Configuration Manager. So I'm just going to go inside. I'm on SQL Server or Server 02. I'm here, and going to that Windows icon, and then there is SQL Server Configuration Manager. If you don't see that here, then you can go for SQL Server 2016 here, and it's the red box. Configuration Manager is here. So if I click that Configuration Manager here, and yes, so it opens right away, and SQL Server Services is selected, and I can see that one service here is just disabled. So we need to enable that. So it's stopped, but obviously it is not automatic as well. We need to make it automatic first and then start the service on Server 2. Then we're going to go to Server 3 and exactly do the same thing. So I'm going to double click that, and we're in the properties of that SQL Server Agent. I'm going to click that service, and it is start mode is disabled. So I'm just going to go down here to automatic and click apply. So this means that whenever next time the SQL Server starts, just please always start this SQL Server Agent service automatically. So I'm just going to press OK. If I right click here, there's a start button, so I'm just going to click the start button here. So now, well, okay, so this is the screenshot number 1. So SQL Server Agent service started on Server 2. SQL Server Agent service started on Server 2. So take a screenshot here. Take a screenshot here. SQL Server Agent service started on Server 2. Take a screenshot here. I'll just take a screenshot here and put it on. So it's a SQL replication topic, and screenshot 1, SQL Server SQL Server Agent service started on Server 2, and the screenshot. So this is the same thing, I'll just put it on. So this is database equals.
Please, when you're done, can I take a screenshot, please?
Yeah, sure. Screenshot 1. Let me just write that. Equals SQL Server Agent service started on Server 2. Control V, enter. So it's there now. Okay, let me show you. So this is the screen. Please take a screenshot here, and then So once you have taken screenshot here, then the screenshot 1 title is there. Oh, it is SS SQL, it's just SQL. Okay, once that screenshot is taken, so I'm just going to go for the second server and do the same thing, and that will be your screenshot 2 here on the second server. So here I'm just going to open, I'm inside the second server now, and I'll just open the configuration manager here as well, SQL Server 2016 configuration manager, and yes, double click the SQL Server Agent, service, disabled automatic, so when it starts again, it should just automatically start. You know, like when the SQL Server restarts, then agent service should automatically start, and then right click and start here as well. And that's our second screenshot. So yes, it's the SQL Server Agent started on server 3. Take a second screenshot here, take a second screenshot, take a second screenshot, and I'll take the screenshot now. And it's pretty much the same name, and screenshot 2, SQL Server Agent installed or started, started on server 3, and here as well, database screenshot to SQL Server Agent started on server 03. Okay, so then we go ahead. So that's the screenshot 2 we took, and the same place screenshot 1 we took. And the machine name is server 2 showing there. Hopefully, when you're taking a screenshot, you're putting your name in the background somewhere. Eric says, can you show the first SS? Yeah, this is the first SS. SRV2 is showing there. This is the first one. And once you've taken that, then this is the second one, because SRV3 is showing there. This is the second one. Right. Okay, so first one here, second one there. So I'm back on the first one, and the SQL Server Agent for the first instance is started. If I had the second instance in this, in the desktop, I have created those 3 machines, and if I had the second instance, I would have then the SQL Server Agent for that instance had to be separately started. And I'm just starting it for the first instance, but I actually also have just one instance there. Okay, so with that done, then we can go ahead and check out our rest of the steps there as well. And I'll just go ahead and how do we do that? I'm just going to put that here. Steps. Okay, so I just put the steps here because on the other screen I'm looking at those steps, and I am just making sure that all the steps are properly written there. So lab steps here would be that on server 02 we install the distributor first, and again on server 2 we will install the publisher, and then on server 03 we will install the subscriber, right? And on server 02 also we need to just choose the database, and okay, so before we install the publisher, that would be before, so I'll just put it here. On server 02, choose a database and create a table there. For example, a user info table. And yeah, we're gonna just check that if that table reaches there on the other side, on server 3 database. So on server 3, not only that we will install the subscriber, and during the creation of the subscriber, we will also create a new database where the publisher's data can be copied to and then later regularly synchronized as well, right? So that's what we need to go for. Okay, so we're gonna go for the subscriber. Now we have already okay, the lab steps did not include, so start permanently the SQL agent service on both SQL instances. So we did that already. And also we need to make sure that the firewalls on both on all three VMs is shut down, and there is no communication disruption, like just try to ping both VMs and check with NSLOOKUP if name resolution is working on both SQL servers. So these are just to make sure that the replication has no disruption when we do start that. Now I have already tested at the start with mirroring lab that it was failing over fine. So this means that I would my communication between the two SQL servers would be okay. And so I'll just go ahead and start following these steps. So I'll just quickly have a good check. Sometimes that firewall is open and it does let the traffic go by. Suppose you started this SQL Server Agent service, so normally it updates itself as well, and sometimes it does not update as well. So I'm just gonna, on server 2, I'll just click that, and 3 profiles are done. They're down and or off, and then I'll go for server 3 and check it out, and server 1 and check it. Oh, it's on here. So I'll just try to turn Windows Firewall on or off. Third machine as well. So sometimes it decides just to, although it's technically illogical, but sometimes it decides to just block the traffic. Okay, so I'm on server 2 here, SQL Server, and I'm already logged in from the SSMS here. And so the first step would be to go ahead. So yeah, I've checked SQL Agent is up. all 3 VMs are firewall off, and NS lookup should be working, name resolution should be working because I did failover off, and failover and failback of the mirroring two databases. Now on server 2 we install the distributor first, and then on server 2 choose the database and create a table there, for example user info table. So this we can even do first. I'm just trying to scroll onto the screen. I have some of the screenshots that I've created myself, so I should not be missing any steps. So there's a screen where all the screenshots are there, just to make sure that because I don't do that every day, right? So, but we have to make it working the first time. Even mirroring was perfect, but it's the Azure environment, so I had to create the whole environment from scratch here in my local machine to make sure that it was supposed to be working fine. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and first of all we're going to introduce the distributor. Now the distributor is that service which is responsible for making sure that the publisher is sending the data to the subscriber, right? So I'll just go to the database machine here. So I'm on SQL 2, and I'll go for replication service here, and then I'll expand that, and I'll right click the replication service. In fact, you know what, I did test that before, obviously without testing. Okay, let me just start that, creating that. If it says that no, it's already there, so I'll show you that it's actually in the system databases. It becomes one of the databases. Well, instead of surprises, I'll just try to make sure that what we can do is just stop its service, right? So otherwise it's not gonna. Okay, so I'll just refresh. Yeah, once it's part of the system databases, you can't remove it that easily. So I'll just carry on. Replication, right click, and there is distributor properties written here, right? So this means that I cannot create a distributor here in the first place. Normally it shows, I gotta have pictures here as well. Normally it's supposed to show this, configure distribution. So that's what it's not showing me here because I already configured the distributor here. So what I can do is I can try to go to the other database where I did not, in server 3 I did not configure it as a distributor. So I'll just expand the databases here and go to system databases, and yes, the distributor is not there to check it out. So I'll just go for replication service here. So this means that instead of 2 becoming the publisher and distributor as well, I'll just make the 3 as publisher and distributor. So I'm just going to go down to replication and right click here. So that's where it says configure distribution. Okay, so here configure distribution when I go for, so I'll just click that and configure distribution wizard. And it says this wizard helps you to do one of the following: configure your server to be a distributor which can be used by other publishers, configure your server to be a publisher that acts as its own distributor, configure your server to be a publisher that uses another server as its distributor. So it could be a publisher, it could be a distributor as well. So I'm going to click next here for distribution, and I'm saying that the distributor is the server responsible for storing replication information used during synchronization. So it knows that if when the replication happened, how long it happened, how much the data was carried, and if the replication was disrupted or not, or if the replication at its proper time did not actually happen. So it has the updated information about the replication. Yeah, so back, right? So So Amir says, can you go back? How did you get here? Oh, okay. See this? I went to server 3. Now you can also do that from server 2, because obviously you may not have done the replication lab, but I did the replication to check that between server 2 and 3 is working or not. So first I wanted to go for server 2 and right click on replication, but here it's not showing me the creation of the distributor option. So then I went for server 3 here, and there I went to replication and I right clicked, and there's a configure distribution. So server 3 replication, right click and configure distribution. So just click that. So once you click that in server 3, then the wizard starts here, and I'm gonna click next. So in the next, it just says that, okay, you want server 3 to be distributor, and yes, I say yes. Please make it a distributor. I'm going to click next. So it says that snapshot folder to allow distribution and merge agents that run at subscribers to access the snapshots of their publications. You must use a network path to refer to the snapshot folder. So it just says that snapshot folder does not support pull subscriptions created at the subscriber. It is not a network path, or it is a dash to a network path. So this is just cut out here. I think to support both push and pull subscriptions, use a network path to refer to this. So it's just saying that, hey, why don't you just create the REPL data on a shared folder instead of on a local folder. We're just going to keep it to local folder because we don't have the third SQL server that's going to help us do some automatic configurations, extra configurations there as well. So this snapshot folder, it should be on network path, but we can work without that as well. So I'm just going to click next, and then it says that, hey, what's the name of the distribution database? Okay, distribution is good enough. And select the name and location of the distribution database and log files. The distribution database stores changes to transactional publications until subscribers can be updated. It also stores historical information for snapshot and merge publications. So it just says that, well, the distribution database will store all the replication information, which includes transactional replications or merge and snapshot publications as well. Okay, so here's the path for the database, and the path for the rest of the map drive letters and network paths are invalid. Well, it just says that, hey, you did not create it as a shared folder, but we're going to see that it's going to work without that as well on small scale. So I'm just going to click next. So it says here that enable servers to use this distributor when they become publishers. So there it is asking that who are the publishers here, or first of all, this is a distributor. Later we're going to define the publishers as well, but right now it just says that the distributor is who. We're saying that distributor is server 3. So because we're just defining the distribution task there, right? And once that is, so I'm just going to click next here, and then it says that wizard actions, choose what happens when you click finish. So configure distribution. It says that, hey, do you want to create a script out of that? If you click that, yes, later you can do it with the script as well, but for now it's going to be just configure distribution. So I'm just going to uncheck that and click next. So guys, this is our third screenshot here, where complete the wizard. So it's going to be creating a distributor on server 3. So the title of the screenshot is creating a distributor on server 3. So take a screenshot here, take a screenshot here. So I'm just gonna take a sample screenshot here. Configuring, we can say, configuring a distributor on server 3. Configuring a distributor on server 3. Okay, so I'll take a screenshot now. So I'll put it here, screenshot 3. So screenshot 3, configuring a distributor on server 3, and also database there on WhatsApp. Screenshot 3, configuring a distributor on server 3. Oh, 722. Oh, okay. So, well, I just saw the WhatsApp now. Okay, here. Well, so once this screenshot is taken, I'll just go back to. So the distributor is being configured, and I'm just going to click finish here, and its task is to just make sure that the publisher is sending data to the subscriber. I'm just going to click finish. Once that is done, I'm going to click close here. Oops. And once the distributor is added here, then I'll just go for the next one, and that is the publisher. So I'm just going to go for replication again, and I'm going to go for local publication. And so here, you know what, on server 3 I actually do not have a database. Now what's going on here, I'm about to create a publisher here. I have all the databases in server 2, but since I already created a distributor there when I was testing before the class to make sure the environment is working, so I I tested already, so I have a distributor here, but I don't have a database here whose table I need to publish to the subscriber. So this time my publisher, the sender of the data, is in server 3, and my subscriber, the receiver of the data, will be server 2. But in order to send a data, I need to have a database with a table there, so I could start the publisher and tell the publisher, hey publisher, there's a database inside server 3 which has a table, and that table needs to be sent from the server 3 to server 2, right? So in that case, we need to create that database there. So I'm just on server 3, since I did not have a database, so I'm just gonna go ahead now and expand the database. In my case, I don't have a database, right? So well, ignore these. These are just mirrors and the principal databases for mirroring, but I need a database that is not attached to its copy across the LAN on the other SQL instance. So I'm just going to create a pure new database here. Right click on databases, and under server 3 I'll click the new database. And I have here, I think, DB0 up to DB04, but in Azure I had created up to DB06. So here I'm just going to go for DB05, and I'll just okay, your first name DB05. I'll go for Meyer. Armor DB05. I'll just go for the drives. The database file should be in E drive, databases, okay, and log files should be on F drive, logs, okay. So I'll just create one database inside server 3, So there's just one database whose table I'm going to try to replicate as a publisher across the LAN to the server 2 based database, which will be the subscriber or receiver of the data, right? So this database is there, and I need to expand this newly created database under server 3. And once I expand, there's a database diagrams, there's tables there. So I'll go for tables and right click and click new and table, right? So I'll just go right click and click new and table, and then we can just go for suppose employee name tab, and then there is employee salaries tab, and employee contract. So suppose you have some kind of information there, and then city and country and cell phone. So we're just going for some random entries there for a table, and we want that table to be actually replicated across the LAN to the other database. So once we just put some column name and tab and go here and put some, so I'm just going to right click here and on the top here, and I'm going to save table 1, and I'll just call it employee info. So I'm just going to click save table and employee info without space, one word, employee info, right? So I just right click here, and I'm going to press OK. Excuse me. So here, once the table is created, now that table should show under the newly created database here. So it's not showing, so I'll just refresh, and now it's showing that DBO dot database object, DBO database object dot employee info. So this table is the only one that I want replicated from this database to a new database that we will be creating later here. But we can just go for one is employee info, the other one I'm just going to right click here again on the tables and click another table, right? And that other table we can just go for anything else as well. That is product name tab, and so product price. So I'm just coming up with some data there. So product expiry tab, and so that's it. If I just create one small table, and I'll right click and save table, so product info, employee info, then there's a table called product info. I'm just gonna press OK here as well. So just save the table and go for product info. So, and I'll refresh that. So there should be two tables, but why I create two tables, because I want to show that within the replication you have a choice that you can go for both tables, and these would be first copied there on a database in the other server, and then or you can just go for one table only here now, and it will be copied, and then later whenever you want you can just go for the second table. Oh, now I want it to be synchronized as well in the other database, so you can just go for separately another table as well. So well, we have created a new database inside server 3. We have created two tables there as well. I'll just collapse this, your first name db05, and once that is done, now I'm ready to publish this database's table across the SQL Server to the other SQL Server 2 from SQL Server 3. So how do I publish that information? There's a replication here. First we create a distributor. In fact, when we created the distributor, where did it get created? I don't see that distributor showing here. So I'll go under the databases, and there's a system databases, right? And that system database is supposed to, yeah, I refreshed it, and then now it shows distribution database created under system databases. So distributor gets created here normally, and its job is to make sure that publisher is sending data to the subscriber. And well, I'll just collapse that and go down to what I was doing, and that is replication, and then there is local publication. So local publication, we can start actually from here, local publication, and then we're going to click new publication, and then it's going to ask that, okay, you want to publish something, okay, what is the article you want to publish? So article is just table or any other object. So I'm just going to right click here, local publication, go to new publication here, right, local publication, and then go to new publication here under server 3, and then the wizard starts, and it just needs to ask that what do you want to publish across the LAN. So I'm just going to click next. So first of all, I have only 2 databases here on server 3. Also see that actually I had the mirror databases there, two other mirror databases there as well. I have those 2, but it doesn't show that because they're already mapped or connected to their active databases in the server 2, so they're not usable. Mirror databases are just standby copies or passive copies. Passive copies are not usable. They're just getting replicated. So these 2 databases are showing, and I'll just go for your first name DB05, which I just created, and then create 2 tables inside. I'll select that the article is actually inside these databases, which is a table. So I'm going to click next. So we can see that there are 4 types of replications here. Snapshot publication, and we talked about that. The publisher sends a snapshot of the published data to subscribers at scheduled intervals. And transactional publication, the publisher streams transactions to the subscribers after they receive an initial snapshot of the published data. So it's in a stream-like manner, it's continuous manner. The transaction is going on, and it's normally a large amount of data that you would go for, that you need to stream that data. And then there is peer-to-peer publication as well. Peer-to-peer publication enables multi-master replication. The publisher streams transactions to all the peers in the topology. All peer nodes can read and write changes, and the changes are propagated to all the nodes in the topology. So peer-to-peer is just like you have 5 SQL Server databases, and they're all active, right? So 5 databases, they're all active. They're all receiving data from the applications or end users, not end users, but they're receiving data, and also they're updating each other. So that's peer-to-peer. Everyone is a master or active database. So, and then there is merged replication. We talked about that. The publisher and subscribers can update the published data independently after the subscribers receive an initial snapshot of the published data. Changes are merged periodically. Microsoft SQL Server Compact Edition can only subscribe to merged publications. So, a smaller number of or small edition or compact edition, we can say Express server, suppose the free one, can only go for merged replication. So we're going to stick to snapshot publication here. We're just going to select the snapshot publication and click next. So here the tables are showing, and if I expand that, so the 2 tables that we created, employee info and product info, are showing there. And if we go to select the employee info, suppose we just want this table to be there on a database across the LAN on another SQL Server instance, So not only that, you can just select that table here, but there's article properties showing here, and that article properties, if you click, then you can see set properties of highlighted table article or set properties of all table articles. Is just data inside the table. So suppose you have here 1,000 tables here, and you can select all tables and then change their properties once for all the tables showing here. But I've selected one. I'm going to go for the highlighted one. And then there are table properties that you actually can change. Destination object name. You can also change the object name here, and whatever other values you can change. It's just going to be all showing here. So I'm just going to cancel out from here. Now this is selected, and so this is going to be copied across the LAN to the other database. So I'm just going to click next. And now filter table rows here. Do you actually want to send the whole table? Oh, Amir says, can you expand the database? Database back, this one. Oh, expand the table. Yeah, these are all the columns. Oh yeah, forgot to expand that. So we can actually choose that which column. So which column has what, and so I don't want to actually replicate the city column, or I want to not replicate the cell phone column or country. So yeah, we can uncheck any of those. So it goes down to really fine details there. What do you want to copy? Okay, so I'm going to click next here. And then it says that filter table rows, add filters to exclude unwanted rows from published tables. So you can exclude some unwanted columns from the table, and you can exclude the unwanted rows as well. So that's really interesting, that how deep down you want to replicate exactly what kind of data there. So I'm just going to click next here without changing anything. And then it says that snapshot agent, specify when to run the snapshot agent here. And there is subscriptions are initialized with a snapshot of publication schema and data. The snapshot agent creates the snapshot. So the that a SQL Server agent that we created, it's going to help the snapshot agent really take snapshots and send across the LAN to the other SQL instance. So what we can do here is, yes, create a snapshot immediately and keep the snapshot available to initialize subscriptions. So once we don't want to schedule that, we just want to do it immediately and check that our table, did it get copied across to the other SQL Server instance, and is it available there? So I'm just going to click next here. Then it says that snapshot agent, under what privileged account is this snapshot agent working? So we're just gonna give our logged in user here, in my case our SQL admin. So I'm just gonna click the security settings for the agent, just to authorize the agent to do its job of sending the snapshots. So it's SQL domain backspace, so whatever the domain name is, and your first name SQL admin, right? SQL admin admin what was that? Your first name SQL admin. Okay, and the password of that user need to be added here 2 times. Not a new password, but the password that we already have of the user needs to be added here. So we have put the password here. Once you have put in that password, so let's press OK. So it says, it grabs that credential information, and it should have the highest privileges to let the agent work. and I'm just going to click next. Create the publication. Yes. Do you want to generate also a script for future use, for future automation, future you just want to run the script instead of doing click 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 click? So you can do that here. I'll just click next now. So it also asks that what is the publication name here. So we can just give their publisher dash from dash server 03. You can just give any name here. So this is a screenshot number 4, that publisher being created on server 3. So screenshot number 4, publisher being created on server 3. Screenshot number 4. So I'll take a screenshot now. Publisher being created on server 3. So this is a screenshot number 4. So screenshot publisher being created on server 03. Database screenshot 3 publisher being created on server 03. Okay. So once that screenshot is created, I'll just go to the machine here and I'll just click the finish button here for this publisher being created. So it's going to send the data, and data is the table, and within the table even we can choose if we want to not replicate that column or that row. It even goes down to that level. So I'm just going to click finish here, and yeah, so it's success here, and you can even create a report for the whole configuration and the result of that configuration, and be emailed to you or save it on a file or just put it on a clipboard. So I'm just going to click close here. So if you see under the local publications here, under the replication in server 3, so if I click or expand that, now you can see that there is a publisher from server 3 has been showing or is showing here now. Obviously there has to be a subscriber to receive that publication as well. So as long as the sender is concerned, sender is ready to send all this information. So now what we can do is we can go for new subscriptions. So now we need to define the subscriber, right? So how do we define the subscriber here? We actually go for local subscriptions. So now what are we doing? We're actually configuring remotely the subscriber. The subscriber is supposed to be created in server 2, but we are just configuring it in server 3, and from server 3 it's going to be actually remotely configured in server 2. So we can just go there here, we can stay here and right click, although we can do that from within server 2 as well, but we're remotely doing it from server 3. Where we create the publisher, from here we're creating the subscriber as well, that's going to receive that table or data in that table. So I'm just going to right click here on local subscription and click new subscriptions and click next. So now it says that, hey, choose a publication for which you want to create one or more subscriptions. So this is the publication for which we need the subscription, and then well, it is already chosen on server 3, so I'm just going to click next. So run all agents at the distributor server 3 push subscriptions. So yes, you can run all the agents that's just going to push all the data from the database, and that's the table. So it's going to be pushing the data instead of, you can also do a pull as well, that pull the data, but we're on a source, we're not on the destination right now. So where the data is from where we can push. So if you, yes?
Excuse me. Is the last screenshot was supposed to be screenshot 4?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Screenshot 3. Did I put screenshot 3 there? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 3. Thank you. So my bad. It's screenshot. Yeah, it's 4 here, but yes, in WhatsApp I put it wrong. So it's still screenshot 3 saying there. Let me just quickly correct that. Apply to that. Database equals screenshot for okay, publisher configured on server 3. Right, so it's publisher being created on server 3 or publisher configured on server 3, same thing. Okay, let's go ahead and yeah, I was there. And okay, so run all agents at the distributor. Since we're on the source page or source server, so we're going to be pushing all the data to the subscriber. So I'm just going to click next here, and it's asking subscribers, choose one or more subscribers and specify each subscription database. So it needs all information about the subscriber because we're sitting on the publisher here, but it needs all the information about the subscriber. So obviously subscriber in our case is, in my case it is server 2 because I initiated from server 3. So I need to actually add a subscriber. So what I'm going to do is I'll say that, hey, server 3 is actually not a subscriber. In my case, server 2 is. So let me define that or add it here. So there's a add subscriber button here. I'm just going to click that. And then it shows add SQL Server subscriber. So you can also see that it has add non-SQL Server subscriber. So you can have that too. But we're just going to go for add SQL Server subscriber. And it just says, hey, can you connect to that? So yes, server 3 is there. We're not going for server 3. We're going for, I'm just going to remove that and put 2. We're going for server 2 here. So, and the whole authentication is there with SSMS. So I'm just going to click the connect button after changing the name to 2. And the 2 is added there. So that's one thing, that this is a subscriber. Second thing is which database is there to which you want to send this table from server 3. So if we go here, there's nothing written here, right, for server 2. If we click there, so there's actually a drop down here. So if we click the drop down, you can see the list of all the databases that are available in server 2. Well, it says that you want to send that data of DB05 to any of the existing databases. So yes, technically that is possible. Or you want to create a new database where you want to send this information to. So it could be existing database or new databases as well. So, and the good thing is that from within server 3, you can actually create remotely a database on server 2 as well, since it shows here. So technically, yeah, you can select an existing database, but let's just create a new database from server 3 in server 2. So I'm just going to click that new database, and it pops up then, okay, you want to create a database in server 2. So go ahead and create a new database in server 2. So since we have that publisher database name as your first name DB05, so we can go for your first name DB05 subscriber. Okay, just give this full name, subscriber. So now this name is given for the new database, and also we can actually choose according to the vendor best practice that the database file should be living in server 2 inside E Drive databases, and F Drive. It doesn't have to be that, like if you don't create it this way, still the replication will work. This is just for the vendor best practice. So this database that is creating in server 2 from server 3. So we've defined everything here, and I'm just gonna press OK. So now we have mentioned that yes, Mr. Publisher, the subscriber is server 2, and that's the database here in server 2. Once that is done and defined, then what we can do is just simply go ahead and actually provide credentials or an highly privileged user that is allowing the subscriber to receive the subscription or the articles from the publisher. So I'm just going to click next after defining the database. I'm going to click next. So then it asks that, okay, so subscriber is on server 2 and it's a database. So now connection to subscriber. So just define your security credentials under which account you are going to allow us to send data from publisher or article from publisher to subscriber. So I'm just going to click that 4 dots here for connection to subscriber, and it's going to ask the same thing, the domain name and the username. So I'm just going to click the 4 dots, and it's the SQL domain / your first name SQL admin, and the passwords on MC, ship123, ship123, ship123. And then I'll press OK. So once the credentials are given here, then we can just simply go ahead and do you want to run it continuously, and do you want to run it immediately, and the rest of the options. Let's just go ahead and click next. So it asks that, do you want to run it continuously here, or you want to run on demand only, so whenever you want, only then, or you want to define a schedule. So we're going to just click the run continuously and click next. So whenever there's an update there, it's going to send it there to the other database. And then, do you want to run it immediately, or do you want to add first synchronization? So whenever there's a change, then it will initiate that, trigger that synchronization. No, we want it to be run immediately. And initialize, is it memory optimized? This is not clickable, but this means that more direct memory access could be given to this for better performance. So I'm going to click next here and create the subscription. So now we're just ready to simply create that subscription. So that would be our screenshot number 5. This area is our screenshot number 5. So take a screenshot here, number 5. So subscriber being created on server 2. So screenshot number 5, subscriber being created on server 2. So I'm just going to take a screenshot now. Subscriber being created on server 2. Screenshot 5. Subscriber being created on server 2. Database equals screenshot 5. Subscriber being created on server 2. So screenshot 5 there, and I'll just go back. Okay, so well, the subscription configuration is also done, and I'm going to click finish here. Well, the subscriber or creating subscription is done as well. It's a success here, so I'm just going to click close here for this. So what are we expecting after this is done? We're expecting that, well, we can go for the publisher and we can check the view synchronization status first of all. So whenever you have done something, so just go to server 2 and click refresh there, and go to server 3 and click refresh here as well. And the first thing is we can go to the publisher, which is in our case server 3, or my case server 3. I'm just going to expand the replication and then go to the local publication here, and then this is the publisher that it was sending its one table there, so I'm just going to expand that too. And then you can see that this is the database. So if we right click on this database under the publisher, so there's a view synchronization status written here. So it just is trying to get some reports there that synchronization in progress is showing here right now. Synchronization in progress is showing here, and that's one thing. It says here publication database is on server 3 and subscription database is on server 2. Also, you can stop the synchronization as well. And then there's a monitor here. So if we click the monitor here as well, so it can give more detail about server 3. If I expand the server 3 in the replication monitor and check it out here, so it's running first of all, and if I just expand this replication monitor, I double clicked that whole line here running. I'll just double click it, and then it shows that it's running, and what happened at what time with the timestamp. It's just saying starting agent, initializing, applied script, employee info, and then employee info, no rows there. And so it just takes that, okay, this was a table that was published by the and the subscriber received it. It's supposed to. We're going to check that out now, but this is the monitoring information. So I'm just going to close this, and replication monitor, we're going to close this one as well. So yes, synchronization is in progress, so I'll close this as well. So this is the subscriber or publisher side. So if we go up there to server 2, right, and go to the its replication here, and then go to local subscription here, so it does show that there was a subscriber configured here as well. So the subscription subscriber is supposed to be receiving the data from publisher. If we go up to the database, was there a database created on server 2 that we created remotely from server 3? So I'll expand that, and there is a database called DB05 subscriber. That's what we created from server 3. And if you expand that, then there is tables on the second, and yes, it has that table. So the data was actually sent, and the replication is successful, and whatever you add there will be just added here as well. So that's how the replication really works, and it's well, if in Azure I had tested it, I don't know if I had if this one also had some issue or not. But here, local environment, it's just working fine. So, well, that's replication, and yeah, you can then just right click and check anyway if the database is really working. But this would be our screenshot number 6, that the snapshot replication works, right? So take a screenshot number 6 where it is showing the DB05 subscriber and the table here as well. So snapshot replication works is the title. So take a screenshot number 6. Take a screenshot number 6. So just go ahead. So this is the table that is available now here as well, and that's screenshot number 6. Snapshot replication works. So screenshot number 6, snapshot application works. I'll go here, screenshot number 6, and I'm just gonna go to the portal menu. So screenshot 6, snapshot replication works. And right here, and also database screenshot 6, snapshot replication works. Okay. So, well, the replication topic is done, and we're going to go for the next topic, which is actually a bigger one, and that is failover clustering. And so that's a very critical feature in many of the, if you want to offer high availability to applications, and that can be also even configured on Azure on application level, while the underlying high availability is always there. But to know how to configure failover clustering is also a very important skill for the job market. So we're going to be starting that failover clustering, and yeah, so definitely there is a break time coming now. So next topic would be failover clustering, but let's just take a break first. Okay, break, and class starts 8:04, so 8:20. So I'll just and well, we need to go for the next topic, and that is the failover clustering. So what's the purpose of failover clustering configuration? It's a kind of a big one, long one, we can say, and in this configuration, normally we make high availability and zero downtime possible, right? So failover clustering of SQL database. So failover clustering lets us configure the services to be highly available, and in case of a disaster, a server inactive server crash, inactive server crash, the services immediately fails over to the passive server. So, and that's without a server with zero downtime, right, and zero data loss. The runtime zero data loss, right? So that's high availability, and this is that configuration where we actually can say that the database can, if we just crash one SQL server, that it's going to just fail over to the other database. And how does it all work? Normally what happens is that if you have two virtual machines there, so let me just grab one diagram that has some markings on it. Okay, so server 1, ADD, and so this is, suppose there are two SQL servers here, and these two SQL servers need to be they need to be on top of a feature or a service called Failover Cluster. Now this Failover Cluster, what it does really is, okay, so this diagram is actually not a good representative of what I want to show right now, so I'll just go for, so we have one virtual machine here, we have two SQL servers here. Now these two new machines, actually we're gonna be, or I'll be creating two new machines, and we can't use those two machines, server 2 and server 3. We're going to go for server 4 and 5. So why are we going for that? So overall idea is that you have an OS here, and on top of the OS you are going to configure Failover Cluster, and on top of the Failover Cluster is that application. So the SQL database will be here, and the main point here is that its partner or passive database will be on another server, which also will be configured with Failover clustering feature. And this actually it's this service on the top of the SQL server will be, suppose this is DB01, right? So it will be only here in whichever is the active server. Now we're not talking about the database, we're talking about the whole server loss. So suppose you have here 2 databases, 3 databases, 10 databases, so, and that's the passive server here. Now in that case, passive server, so if it's a passive server, what happens is that this SQL database, if this server goes down, so this SQL database will be available from immediately. It's going to be available from this server, right? So all the connections that were made to this server will be redirected to this other server here, and we lost a whole physical server or virtual server, but the service on top of that was the SQL database. That service is going to be within seconds available on the other physical or virtual server within seconds. So if end users were connected to this database, their connections will be redirected immediately. So if the end users were connected and they were working on it, and the physical server crashed or virtual machine crashed in the background, so the users will not know of other than that the screen is frozen. Their screen, when they click, it's just frozen for a few seconds while the failover over in the background is going on. As soon as the services reach there in few seconds, the users will have access to that service. And this is all happening, the failing over in few seconds. So creating the underlying whole infrastructure to keep to offer actually zero downtime and zero data loss is a big deal. It's not that easy. For that, normally, and a SQL Server would be one of the most important services that should be always and is always on top of a failover cluster. So this service should remain highly available, as well as with zero downtime it should fail over, and zero data loss it should fail over. So normally the failover cluster is available for web servers, for file servers, for SQL servers. So any other type of servers, normally you just create a failover underlying operating system. On top of that, you configure very carefully failover cluster, and then you put some application on top of that. In our case, now we're going to be putting SQL Server there, and then it can just fail over. So the main point here is zero downtime and zero data loss. So that in order to achieve that, the whole environment has to be configured carefully. What we already did is that we have installed, what machines we have has the configuration of an OS and a SQL Server. So OS is there, our current machine, Server 2 and Server 3, right? It has a OS and a SQL already installed on that. What we need is that first we install OS, then we properly configure the failover cluster configuration on top of the OS. Then we can put on top of that a SQL Server. So this means that if you already have a SQL Server installed there, it's not going to work. Suppose you install Failover Cluster with already an existing SQL Server instance, so it's not going to work. So you have to. This means that you have to plan ahead first. That if you're going to offer zero downtime, zero data loss, then you need to plan ahead, and you need to first configure the Failover clustering in whatever number of servers. You can have actually here 16 servers or 32 servers even with Windows Server 2016, and you can just deploy the failover clustering feature, and it fails over real fast. So it has to be first configured, then SQL Server need to be installed on top of that, right? So that's how it works, and this is crucial part of the SQL Server high availability scenario. So we're going to just do that now. In order to do that, we need to have a lot of components in place. We need to have the networking of failover clustering to be properly configured, storage for failover clustering to be properly configured, and then failover clustering itself, the install FC service, and then on top of that, once the failover cluster is carefully configured, then on top of that we go for the SQL configuration. So now it's gonna go step by step, but once we have that failover clustering available, then we're going to go ahead and do the crash test. Normally, well, that's a fine way to say it, crash test. So if I just drag this, the major steps for that, what we need to do is configure failover cluster networking, configure failover cluster storage, configure failover cluster, test it by switchover and failover, Then install SQL Server on both servers, do crash test of a SQL Server, and check if the SQL services are still available from the surviving server. So this is exactly what we were talking about till now, that if the SQL Server is here and we crash it ourselves, will it still be available from the other server which hasn't crashed, right? So that's the whole explanation of that. Now, in order to go ahead, as I said, that the current configurations, with current configuration, it's not going to be possible to have failover clustering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down the current two machines, because later we may use that again. And I'm going to create two new machines here, server 4 and 5. I'm just going to join them to domain. I'll give them the next available IP addresses and next available names there. And once they're joined to the domain and logged in from the domain admin, then we're going to start configuring failover clustering one by one steps. So those are major steps there, but we want to achieve one thing, and that is zero downtime, zero data loss, right? And that's not that easy, but once we are able to do that, so now this is the whole diagram that actually depicts that what we're going to do. But I'm just going to create that diagram initially, and I'm going to explain to you how to configure the networking for failover cluster, how to configure the storage of failover cluster, and then how to install the failover cluster service itself. You can see that it's going to be server 4 here and server 5 instead of 2 and 3, and the IP will be also 204 and 205. And then we're going to join them to the domain, and then we're going to configure the whole environment. So the purpose is to offer high availability and to make the SQL machine highly available, also or SQL instance available from any one server if the other one crashes. The first one crashes, which has from where you're connected to the SQL instance, then the other one, it will just fail over to the other one right away. And for that to achieve, we need to have a software SAN installed as well. And I'm going to explain as we configure the whole thing that what is the software SAN going to do. Basically, that's the main service that's going to help us keep the SQL instance accessible from whichever server survived after the crash. So what happens is that SAN is, or storage area network, is a service that offers the disks, or we call it LUNs as well, logical unit number, the disks over the network. We map, so these are the virtual disks or physical disks that are there in one machine, and you can map it over the network to the two virtual machines that are going to have SQL Server installed. So what happens is, if the disks are coming from over the network and you're not using the local disks of the virtual machine, so when the server crashes, if you have put your SQL database on shared disks, then this database was never on this server, right? When you create a database on a shared disk, this database is actually created over the network on another machine. It's not there, it's just started here or being accessed from here. So this means that if the server goes down, this shared disk, which is attached to the server 04, this is the same shared disk over the network. It is attached to server 5 as well, right? So if the same disk is attached to server 4 over the network and the same disk is attached to server 5 over the network, so whatever data is on top of that, in our case the database, so that database is accessible if you connect to it from server 4, or if the server 4 goes down, that database will still be accessible from server 5 as well, right away. So this one shared disk, or two shared disks, or 20 or 30 or 1,000 shared disks that you can map over the network to any machines, they come from SAN, or storage area network. We're going to install software SAN, and the only purpose of storage area network or SAN is to offer disks over the network to any machine, any device that wants it, right? So it's pretty advanced configurations here for failover clustering, and the main thing is, do we understand what we're doing? And definitely you will be facing those questions in the interviews and in production environments if it's already configured, so they will expect you to know how it's working. So creating it from scratch would be a good experience for you to really offer that failover clustering service in the networks. Now for this, obviously the SAN is one thing. Second thing, you can see also there's a networking written here, and you can see that I've shown here these right angles as the network cards. So this is LAN network card. There's a HB network card. What is HB? HB is heartbeat. So these two servers will send heartbeats to each other every second. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive, and they keep on sending that I'm alive packets to each other. If any one of them misses five I'm alive packets, then the other server will consider that this first server from which the packets are not coming, I'm alive packets are not coming, so it will consider it as crashed or down or not available, and the other server will just simply assume the active role, right? So that's how it works. And so these heartbeats go every second, and if these heartbeats are missed for 5 seconds, then the other one assumes the first one is gone, and second one just simply assumes that the active server. So this is the software SAN portion of what we will be configuring, and this is the networking portion. So this is like the storage of the failover clustering need to be configured, and the networking of the failover clustering need to be configured as well. But before, obviously this has to be done in totally new machines, and what we have already configured in our machines, it's not going to work. Failover clustering is not that easy to then configure on an already installed SQL Server. Whenever you deploy a SQL Server in a production environment in companies, normally it has to be highly available. So we do always put it on top of a failover clustering solution. Okay, so so the first step would be, as the major steps are here. In fact, I'll just quickly put them down here as well. What we need is lab steps. So shut down the server 02 and server 03, and then create two clones, server 04 and server 05. Give them static IP addresses of 192.168.200.4 and 192.168.200.5. Obviously, it's going to be the 255 and the gateway and the preferred DNS would be the same, but the initial IP addresses would be like this. And once you give static IPs, then join them to domain and log in from your first name admin, SQL admin, so SQL admin, and then install .NET Framework 4.7, and then the whole SQL Server installation procedure. Well, after installing .NET Framework, then we configure first the failover cluster. because that service has to be properly configured, and then SQL need to be installed on top of that. So configure the Failover Cluster service on both new servers, and there configure networking of Failover Cluster, configure storage of Failover Cluster, and then install the Failover Cluster service. So that's how it is. Test if we can failover. Switchover means that you can manually switch over from the active from server 4 to server 5 and server 5 to server 4. Or failover means that if you crash a server, that the other will be considered as active automatically. It's not or, we will test and, so it's going to be and. So test if we can switch over and failover. Once that is done, then let's install SQL Server on both server 04 and 05, and then we're going to go for the final configuration. That's going to be SQL Server on both server 4 and 5, and then do a crash test. So that's where the configuration has to be really carefully done when SQL servers are installed on top of Failover clustering. That itself has to be also configured very carefully. So do a crash test, and that crash test would be that we will crash the active server, and the SQL should be available from the passive, which is now active, new active, we can say, server. So that's the overall plan here, and for that we can just start, and whatever we can do till the end of the class, we will try to do that, and then we're going to continue in the next class as well to configure the whole thing and test it as well. So shut down server 2 and server 3. I'll just go for that here, and I'll go for power on server 2 and shut down guest. Server 1 always remains up, so I'll go for shut down here and shut down guest here. So server 2 and server 3 will be down. Oh, source. But we have 470 here. Okay. I'll just go for I'll just quickly get rid of some of the extra machines there. Second VMs and third VMs, seriously. Quickly go for, oh, that's on C. Okay, I'll just put these guys on C, but they really take over everything on C. Anyway, I'll just quickly check it out if we can come up with. For now, I'm just going to create it on C drive. So, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and create the two machines. So I'm just going to go for create new virtual machine here, and I'll go a bit quick. Server 4. So next, it has that client software. Okay, so I'll just go ahead, and this is GBsoft. Try to grab the SQL Server. Okay, the way I'm going to install that ISO, that's going to be a little different than what you've seen, because mine is a trial version, so it just goes it gives me an error. So I'm just gonna click the I will install the operating system later here. This is just for the trial version. If you are installing, anyone is installing, you can just use the GB version of that 2016, and you'll be good. You can just select here 2016, and you can just go ahead. I'm gonna go for I will install later, and go for Microsoft Windows 2016. I think we all know how to install Windows 2016, so I'll just go for server 04-GB SQL-19Nov2020. Okay, and I'll stick it to C, and I'll just copy this as well. Next, it's 200 GB I'm giving, single file, and next. So I'll give a customized hardware. I have 24 GB RAM here, so I'll give it 8 GB for this machine. I'll keep it to NAT for now. Then later I'm just gonna change that to unit 15. Close, finish. So it will just start the installation. So it's just saying EFI. I'm just gonna right click here and settings. I'll give the operating system now. So ignore that what I'm doing, because your ISO does not give errors. My trial ISO actually give me errors, and this is just a workaround I'm doing that you can simply ignore. And 14393 is that? 16. So I'll just go ahead and right click and restart. I'll just see if the error doesn't come, so I'm just going to close the other two machines, or remove it from up there, so I can just quickly go ahead. Okay, so it works. So I'll just change the English Canada quickly. I'll try to make it a bit faster so we could just go for the failover clustering. While this is going on, okay, let me just put it on the installation path so I could go for the second one. Fourth one, 2016 data center evaluation. Next. Custom. Next. So it's gonna start installation. I'll just go for the second one, create new virtual machine, and go for next. I'll install the operating system later just for my own specific scenario. And I'll control V. This is the name I gave to the first machine, second one 05. And 200 GB here, single file. Next, customize hardware. I'll go for 8 GB here as well. That's all for now. Close, finish, and power on. Once it's powers on, then I'm just gonna give it the path of the operating system. In my case, it's just a workaround that I need to avoid that error that comes there for my OS. So then I'll restart here. Then when the screen comes and this message comes, I'll click and press any key on the keyboard, and then it starts. and I'll just fix the time zone. Next, install. And go for the fourth and next. So while this is going on, the next steps I'll just put there and explain. So it's nearing completion. So what we need to know here is two clones. Actually, it's not clones, it's two independent machines that I created. I didn't create a template machine out of which we can create, so two VMs we created. And the static IP address, when they are there, join them to domain. So we need to reach till here, the .NET framework as well. I'll just try to check where is the .NET framework. So I'll just go ahead and quickly check it out while the machines are finishing the installation. On the other screen, I'm just checking that. That's very strange. I don't have. Okay. So offline version of .NET Framework, I would just try to grab that, or I'll just look where I put that. So while the installation is going on here, and once it is done, then I'll just quickly join to domain and start the failover clustering process. I'll put it to the second screen. So I'll just go ahead and download the Failover 4.7. So once they're deployed, then I'll just quickly there 68%. Okay, so yeah, it's doing that again. Okay, I'm in a trap now. Serious. My bad. Handling that from C drive, so other one could go ahead quicker, and I'll just create on my D drive. I have that issue with the drive; it just takes over the whole drive and then it slows down properly. Sorry. Okay, 5. I'll go for D quickly. Here, GB finish. So I started on the other drive and give the path. So now the other machine has really gained some momentum, some speed there. If I just check it, oh, now the disk is okay. So it's 2 machines it cannot tolerate. Seriously. Okay. So one machine is doing the final restart. I'll just go ahead and join it to domain and start the Failover clustering process. While these are also being configured, I need to configure software SAN as well. There will be 3 disks that I will add on the server 1. I will consider server 1 as a software SAN. let me just get rid of this. Okay, while these guys are being configured, so the plan to go ahead is this, that we have one virtual machine here, and the other two server virtual machines are server 4 and 5. So server 01 80 DNS, and now it's gonna have software SAN, but I'll explain that. What does that mean? What does it do? Server 02, and it's going to be a member server, and then well, it's going to be Failover Cluster, but I'm not writing it here because as we progress or do the configuration, then we're going to check it out, that what we need to do. So right now, obviously, they need to be a member server first, and the server 2 is really going towards completion, so it's really complete. I'll just go fast as we don't need to see all this configuration. It has to be done from scratch for the Failover cluster to really work. Otherwise, there are some surprises there always. Okay, still 5 seconds. The other one is also on screen. Okay. So I'll just try to put it on my second screen, and whenever there's a progress I'll show you. But what we plan to do is first in the Failover clustering features, so FC features, so the first thing is the networking, right? So in networking, what we need to do is we're going to be introducing here the NIC1, which is already there. NIC1 is already there, it's LAN. So when we go for NIC1, NIC2, and then we're going to be adding one extra NIC here. So that's, oh, actually that's not NIC2, this is NIC1 for first machine. So it's NIC1 of, actually, sorry, second machine. And then there will be NIC2, that's going to be HB or heartbeat NIC. Heartbeat network interface card. And okay, so while I'm explaining that, and whenever there is a progress here, so I'll just try to log into the virtual machines. One virtual machine is taking the whole hard disk. Okay, I'll just log in here. Other one is, okay, it's gonna reach. So I'll shut down and cut paste this machine on the D drive as well, so it could go normal speed. So I need to give a static IP and just rename and restart. Okay, while it is going on, I'll just move it to the, okay, that's other screen. So in this, when the two network cards are added, so they are going to be sending each other the heartbeats when the Failover clustering actually configures. So they're gonna send each other the heartbeats every So per second heartbeats, or I'm alive packets. So that's going to be per second heartbeats. That's going to be sent, or I'm alive packets between the two network cards. So we will be configuring that. So while it is cleared, I just click the local server and just try to rename machine, give the static IP, and join it to domain. So server 04. Oh, I didn't get the. It is NAT, but I didn't get the internet connection, so I'll just click bridge here so I could get the internet connection. I just needed to get activated. My version is not. Okay, so I'll try that later. So right now I'm just gonna put it to VMnet 15 so it could get connected to that member server. And try to give the static IP as well. Go for 192.168, 200.1 tab 192.168. Actually, it's not one. This is one, but the above one is 4. So this is the machine number 4. The IP is 4. And I'll just check if I had given any gateway there on this machine. No, I didn't give any gateway. So the IP has been given, and so I just need to rename, and if I can ping server 1 with this, then I can just join from domain as well. So I'll just check if it is on VMnet 15 here. It is on VMnet 15, and I put this machine on VMnet 15 as well. Yeah, so if they're on the same VMnet, then they can communicate, otherwise they can't. So I'll just go for that SQL domain .local in domain and press enter. So if it is communicating, it's gonna ask for username, password. Yes, it is asking. So first name SQL admin and password, class password. So after it restarts, then I'll just need to log in from the SQL admin and install .NET Framework 4.7. Okay, it's trying to domain and okay. So the machine is also up there. I'll just try to go as quick as possible so we could go to the actual configuration. We can understand the actual configuration there. Server 4 is restarting and server 5 is just logging in, so I'll just give it a static IP and name as well. and restart and join to domain at the same time while giving the name. And check v6, double click, or 9168.200.5, tab 192.168. There's 2.1. And static IP given, I'll rename it and join the domain. Server 5 domain SQL domain dot local. Oh, I didn't. I think put it on VMware 15. I think it's on NAT. So I'll put it on VMware 15. If they're not on the same VMnet, they won't be able to communicate with each other. So that's why this error came. It's on the same VMnet now. Your first name SQL admin. While it is joining the domain, I'll just go for the other one and log in. Still joining the domain. First. Okay. Join the domain, press OK. So it's joined to the domain, and the second one is restarting. So if I go to the portal menu here, actually one note here, so we have done and log in from this. So we would have done these steps. So we just need to go for .NET Framework 4.7, and then we need to do the main configuration, which is the Failover Cluster configuration. That needs to be very carefully done. So second machine is restarted. I'll go for other user and log in from your first name SQL admin. I think I logged in from my local administrator instead of domain admin. Okay, just sign out from the server 4 and sign in from my first name SQL admin. Okay, so SQL 5 is just logged into, joined the domain and logged in from the SQL admin, and server 4 is also. So I'm just gonna put that 4.7 .NET Framework there. So I downloaded it in the downloads folder. Actually put it there. It's MDP copy. I'll just try to put it. Oh, it allows me to right click and paste. It's not going to allow me because I haven't installed the VMware tools. So I'm just going to right click here and install the VMware tools for both server 4 and 5. This VMware tools enables advanced features inside the virtual machine, and it needs a restart as well. So I'm just going to click the install VMware tools here. Then I'm going to go right click here and install VMware tools here. Without that, you cannot copy paste as well. So I'll just go for server 4 and VMware tools will pop up here. And I'll click that and install and restart the machine. After that, I'll be able to copy paste. Oh well, actually it did pop up and I did not click it. So if I go to this PC, it's mapped to VMware tools are mapped to my DVD drive of server 4 and server 5. So I'm just gonna double click that and yes. And I'm gonna go to server 5 and I'll go down to File Explorer, this PC, and double click the VMware tools here as well, and yes. So here pop up now. It's just next install and restart. The other one, it's also popping up down here, and next, typical is okay, next, and install. And then it's going to ask for a restart. I'll just restart. Also, it's asking you next, install. I'll go for 5, it's still installing. Go for 4, still installing. So I needed to copy my .NET framework, and since VMware tools were not installed, that's why I could not. So I'm just waiting for the VMware tools to install. Okay, I'll just click the finish button here and restart. And here also I'll click the finish button and restart. So once they're back, I'll just install the .NET Framework 4.7 and then go for Failover Clustering configurations one by one. Okay, so I'll just quickly log in back on server 4 and server 5 as well. On server 4, I'll just go for now the .NET framework that I was trying to copy before. In server 4 virtual machine, downloads, and right click, it's still okay. I'm just accessing it over the network, so I can paste it in the desktop area of that desktop where the VMware workstation is, and from there I'll just copy it into both machines. So I'm okay now. Server 5. So I'll just launch that .NET Framework 4.7, and then we can turn fourth machine number 4 I'm launching, and 5, both machines 4 and 5 I launched it. So once that is done, then I can start with the Failover Clustering networking portion. Okay, on server 5 it is already on its way, so I have read and install. Server 4, it's also ready. Install. Back to server 5. Okay, so oh, it's done here on server 5, and it needs a restart. So it shoots up. And it's done here as well in server 4, and restart now. So now it's good to then go ahead and try to go for the first configuration of failover clustering. The first configuration requires that the network cards have to be properly placed. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for server 2 and add one network card, and server 3 and add one network card. And their IPs can be actually, so the IP here on this NIC is 192 168.200.4, and here it's 5. But we can give the IP on the heartbeat NICs as 10.0.0.1 and 10.0.0.2. So, and well, the recommendation is that these two network cards should be connected to a physical switch that is dedicated for these two only, and while you can have the NIC one connected to the LAN physical switch outside, that's where the whole traffic is going on. So I'm just going to, so if we need this, yeah, it's done. 5 is done. So I'm just going to go for server 4 and 5. So I'm just going to, why need 2 NICs? Okay, Hamid says, why need 2 NICs? Let me explain that. Let me just log in. Okay, so the 2 NICs are first NIC is for the LAN communication for the Active Directory and DNS traffic. One for hardware, one for data. Okay, there you go. Okay, Khalid Malik said that. Yeah. And second one is for heartbeats. So they're just going to be sending RU live packets to each other. So I'm just going to add the one extra NIC in server 2 and one extra NIC on server 3. And so server 4, I'm just going to right click here and go to settings. I'm about to add the second NIC on server 4. I'm going to click add here. Now even that VMnet could be different. VMnet is just like VLAN in Cisco is like, VMnet is like that. So I'm just gonna add here and go to network adapter and click finish. So here we can just give it custom and some other VMnet. So VMnets are, so suppose you have two virtual machines. One virtual machine is on VMnet 17, one is on 16, so they cannot communicate with each other. All the virtual machines have to be on the same VMnet for each other to communicate with each other, right? So the second NIC of server 4 and second NIC of server 5 can be even on a separate VLAN, we can say. So I'm going to go for VMnet 17 and give the second network card only VMnet 17, just to prove that the heartbeat communication can be on an entirely different switch and network while they're both part of the same machines. They're like they're part of each of the machine. I'm just going to press OK here for the second NIC on server 4, and I'm not putting it on VMnet 15. Why we should not put it on VMnet 15? VMnet 15 is for Active Directory and DNS traffic and SQL Server traffic, while if we put the heartbeat traffic on the VMnet 15 as well, so it's going to overwhelm that network, because heartbeat traffic is like per second, so it's like it's a lot of bandwidth consuming traffic, so it needs to be on a separate network. That's the best practice. So I'm just going to go right click on server 5 here and click settings, and then click add here, network adapter, just what we did there. So I'm just going to click finish and custom VMnet 17 317, right? So I'm going to click press. So for the second NIC, these guys both have to be on the same NIC, but they don't have to be on Win 15. Technically, yes, you can put it on Win 15 as well. The only thing is they introduce a lot of traffic of heartbeat per second. So we're just putting it on separate networks, but they both have to be on separate networks, heartbeat cards only, right? So I'm just going to press OK here as well. That's not all. There has to be specific configurations on the heartbeat network card itself. So I'm on server 4 now, and I'm gonna go to the heartbeat network card directly. So we can go from local server in server manager and then go to the second NIC, which is here, and I'll click that. So we can actually rename the two network cards in server 4 and rename the two network cards in server 5. Ethernet 0 is the first one, so I'm just going to right click and rename. When you right click the network card like this, and you can rename as well, and that is LAN. So all the Active Directory DNS traffic is going to go through this network card. And we can also right click on Ethernet 1 and rename and just call it HB. So this means that all the heartbeat traffic now we know will be going through this network card. But as we also mentioned in the diagram, that these guys can even have their own different set of IP addresses. So we're going to give those IP addresses now one by one to the second NIC after renaming them both. So I'll just double click the heartbeat and pick properties, and I'll uncheck V6 here, double click V4 for the second NIC, use the following IP address, so 10.0.0.1 here, and press tab, 255.0.0.0. So for the heartbeat network card, we don't need a gateway, we don't need a preferred DNS. For the heartbeat network card, we don't need a gateway and DNS. Not only that, we need to go to the advanced setting here as well. So I'm just going to go to the advanced setting, and in the DNS area, okay, so the combination of the IP addresses and subnet mask is invalid. All of the bits in the host address portion of the IP addresses are set to 0. I think I kept the both. Okay, it's not open. Okay, so I'll just go ahead. Properties, uncheck V6, double click V4, use the following, and 10.0.0.1 tab. That's it. So either I can press OK or I'll go to advanced and it should let me go ahead. Yeah, it is. I need to go to DNS, and what I need to do is that I can just register this connections addressed in DNS. I just need to uncheck this option here, register. So this means that this network card will not be registered by DNS. Now already we have put it on a separate VMnet, so it's not going to be communicating with our DNS anyway. Our DNS is on VMnet 15, while this network card is on an entirely different VMnet or a separate network which cannot communicate with VMnet 15. It's on VMnet 17. Still, this is something that Failover Clustering has its own testing mechanism. There's going to be a vigorous testing mechanism. It's going to check each and every corner of the configuration of Failover Clustering before it lets you create a Failover cluster. It's a very complicated configuration. So you're going to see that test when we reach that stage. So for now, I'm just going to uncheck register these connections addresses in DNS, and I'm going to go for VINs as well, which we're not even using. And we can just go down to disable NetBIOS over TCP/IP. So disable NetBIOS over TCP/IP. So on Wins, the last one disable. On DNS, uncheck the register disconnections addresses in DNS. So doing these two settings will be okay for a heartbeat network card. So I'm going to press OK. 10.0.1.255.0.0.0, and I'm going to go for the second NIC and do the exact same settings there as well for the network card. So I'm just going to press OK and press OK. So this will be our screenshot number 7, that heartbeat NICs configured on server 4. Then screenshot number 8 will be heartbeat NICs, NIC configured on server 5. So take a screenshot here, take a screenshot here. So heartbeat NIC configured on server 4. Take a screenshot here. I'll just go ahead and take a sample screenshot now. Heartbeat NIC configured on server 4. So I'll go to the screenshot 7 and 8. Screenshot 7. Heartbeat NIC configured on server 4. I'll put that on WhatsApp. Screenshot 7 heartbeat NIC configured on server 4. So it's screenshot 7 is this area, server 4. And then I'm going to go for server 5 and do the exact same thing, and that will be our screenshot number 8 when we are done. So I'll go for server 05 and local server, and go for the second NIC. Actually, it's going to open the network interface card area. Rename the first one as LAN. Rename the second one as, now we know, HB, heartbeat. And then we need to go inside the HB and give the static IP 10.0.0.2, and then go for DNS and VINs and do those changes. So I'm just going to double click that HB here and go for properties, uncheck v6 out of habit. If you don't uncheck it, it doesn't matter. And double click v4, use the following IP, and 10.0.0.2 tab, so 255.0.0, that's good. And then I need to go for, without giving default gateway, without DNS, I'll go for advanced, and then DNS, and I'll uncheck the register disconnections addresses in DNS, and also WINS, I'm going to go for the last one, that is disable NetBIOS over TCP/IP. So once these are defined here as well, I'm just going to press OK, 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 close. So that's our screenshot number 8, that heartbeat NIC configured on server 5. That's our screenshot number 8. Screenshot number 8, heartbeat NIC configured on server 5. So I'll take a sample screenshot here. Heartbeat NIC configured on server 5. Screenshot 8, heartbeat NIC configured on server 5. On WhatsApp. configured on server 05. Screenshot 8. Okay. So if we go back to our diagram, we have configured the networking portion. Okay, we go back to screenshot 8. How it says. Yeah, it's this one. Take a screenshot here. Screenshot 8 is heartbeat configured on server 5. Please do put your name there. Welcome. Alright guys, so what we have done is that we have put failover clustering networking feature till now. We still have to configure the whole storage and software SAN configuration on these same machines, and then we're going to go for the failover clustering on top of that, and then SQL servers on top of that, and then the final crash test there. So it's going to be complicated, but really critical for the companies, for the data centers, for production environments. So we're going to go step by step for storage, configuration of failover clustering as well. And for now, what you can do is you can just collect all the screenshots and upload to week 11. I'll just copy this because we need this diagram to continue the discussions later. So go ahead and upload your screenshots and see you on this Tuesday and Thursday for the rest of the labs. I will just right click here, and these machines, those who are doing this, suspend these machines, because then the whole configurations will be frozen. I'm going to suspend the server 5 and right click and go power and suspend server 4. Thank you. Alright, and right click and suspend server 1 as well. And go ahead and upload all screenshots. Hopefully you have put your name there